It's December 3rd already. I mean, January 3rd, because December's gone.
We'll never have it back.
I was thinking about how it's like, no, stop time. You have to stop time for a couple of weeks. I need time to just be on hold for a little while because it's moving way too fast and things are on fire, as evidenced by the nonsense section. But also we have robots. So we'll talk about robots and nonsense.
Well, one thing that may be
And AI.
not moving quite as fast is the rate of AI advancement. Seems like they're hitting some slowdowns, but we did get a new contender which claims to be able to do what the big guys do without all the corporate requirements.
It's legit.
There's a catch though.
DeepSeek's new AI model appears to be one of the best open challengers yet. It's like 317 billion parameters. It's a mixture of experts. It was a little rocky of a start getting on Ollama because of the model architecture, but it goes toe-to-toe with GPT-4o and Claude 3.5. It's very impressive for a model.
And open, but the catch is it is Chinese, which means it had to go through the Chinese government safeguards, which means that it won't discuss certain things like a particular square.
Nope.
And OpenAI is looking to branch out into something other than LLMs, and they are getting into the business that a lot of other people have already tried, and no one's really done a great one yet.
OpenAI launches its own humanoid robots, what you need to know. I've seen some of the Tesla robots. Like, I didn't know if that was a meme or those are real or what, but some of those are looking really impressive.
I don't think they actually have a physical model for this one yet, but they're going to throw some money at it. They previously had one of these and they gave up on it.
They had I think it was Mercedes. It's been over a year ago. The ones that Mercedes and NVIDIA, I think it was Mercedes, had the ones that could move boxes. All they did, they were bipedal, and they would just pick boxes and move boxes and like warehouse type stuff.
Isn't that the one that moved the car parts in the video?
Yeah. Those were surprisingly effective, and if they're cheap to manufacture, they're going to take over a lot of jobs, like a lot. And I don't necessarily see that as a bad thing.
Well, they don't just have to manufacture them. They got to train them. You got to teach them how the world works because they're stupid. They don't know anything. And that takes a lot of time, as we've learned from artificial intelligence models, but maybe not as much as we thought.
New physics sim trains robots 430 times faster than reality. This is the other missing thing from NVIDIA's digital twin scenarios. And so now you're doing very advanced physical training in a digital twin type scenario. You just model everything, send it through the training model, and then when it's hooked up to real life, it works. And NVIDIA was showing this last year at GTC as well for manufacturing, and it was very competent then. This is just the icing on top. I mean, this is a lot of work, but this is where we're headed. Literally simulating reality because reality is too slow.
Now, when you put this much money into something like AI, you want some kind of return on investment. And what if people don't like your AI? What if they like the other AI more? Maybe some people are just like, you know what? I don't want this in my life. Well, if you're Microsoft, that is entirely unacceptable.
The Wall Street Journal's headline is Microsoft is forcing its AI assistant on people and making them pay. This is what I was talking about in the government section, but there are a couple of international companies that had the EU pricing and had the US pricing, and it's like, wait a minute, the price that you're raising Office 365 with everything is the same as what you were charging us for Office 365 plus Copilot before. Now we just can't choose not to have Copilot. We have to have Copilot, and the price has gone up. This is not acceptable, Microsoft. Come on, what are you doing?
We're making money.
We're going to make money with or without your help.
And it's not just new companies and established companies who are taking advantage of AI, but also obsolete companies being resurrected by new technology.
Encyclopedia Britannica is now an AI company. The 200-year-old company may soon go public on the back of AI-powered education products. As much money as they have spent commissioning original works, this could actually work. I would, like Wikipedia, an AI that is trained on the collective knowledge of everything that Britannica has ever done, could be useful.
But will it be more useful than what we have now? Because how easy and how cheap is it going to be to take the next step?
AutoGPT has, is OpenAI's GPT-5 an ambitious leap or a costly misstep? So this article is talking about like the wall. It's like, have we hit the wall with large language models? Do we don't have enough input text? Like, we're going to have to do something to make the training more useful and laser focused, or not?
They claim to have insider information that GPT-5 is actually running way slower in the training than anybody predicted. Like, they thought it was going to take a long time, taking way longer than they ever thought. So can they survive like a 2-3 year cycle in this business?
Maybe not. Can they break the model down so that they can do even more parallelization? Who knows?
One thing's for sure. Even if AI doesn't work good enough, it's not going to stop businesses from using it, and using it in ways that could be catastrophic for certain lives.
Arizona is getting an online charter school taught entirely by AI. Every time I see one of these things, I think that actually, as a kid that was very, very inquisitive to the ruination of all of the adults around him, an AI probably would have been very good for me, but it probably would have been very bad because I wouldn't have understood the hallucination part of it.
What's interesting here is they're talking about this will sort of turbocharge your education into the sciences and stuff. I guess STEM type stuff. They're only going to put you on that stuff for like 2 hours a day, 2.5 hours a day. They're going to focus on all the things, according to these people. Well, they say they're going to do these things, and I say this is everything the public education leaves out, right? Financial literacy, public speaking, goal setting, entrepreneurship, problem solving, critical thinking. It's not a part of anybody's training anymore.
That is really disturbing when you think about it that way. I was even thinking about it in terms of like, I'm not very good at history. Maybe the AI will help tutor me to be a better history student. But also, it was like, I'm really super into math and science. And it's like, great, let's turbocharge your interest in math and science until you don't care about it anymore. It's like, okay, sounds good.
And we know that robots are going to be taking over the roads. They're going to be driving the cars. But what we never thought about when it came to the robots driving us around is that robots must inherently, defer to human life. But some of those human lives are terrible. And what do you do when that causes problems?
Robo-taxi riders in San Francisco targeted with a new form of harassment. Mainly people that are walking in the crosswalk when they shouldn't be.
Well, it seems to be more along the lines of sexual harassment, where you see a pretty girl in a robo-taxi, you stand in front of it and you talk to her. And what's she going to do?
The car is just not able to...
Also, people seem to be unsure what to do. There's a helpline that you can call for like Waymo or Cruise or whatever. But people instead seem to call their friends and be like, I'm being stalked. Also, one woman pointed out she was being stalked. She no longer wanted to go to her home because she didn't want them to follow her home. But she didn't have any way to make the car not do that.
So what you're saying is we need a Johnny Cab type solution where there's some sort of thing in the driver's seat that looks like a person so that you're just discouraged.
I think people would pick up on that pretty quickly.
I think, it was in the UK, I think there was a study that just having a pair of eyes watching you would cut down on theft. And so just putting like giant googly eyes on the wall, that was sufficient to just be like...
But there are cameras. I mean, these people are not doing it anonymously, but it doesn't seem to register to them that it's a threat.
Yeah, they might not realize that literally everything on the entire machine is a camera. See also Tesla, Sentry mode, where somebody's just like, oh, let me just mess up this Tesla person's day. And it's like, we have you doing bad things to this car from like 9 different angles.
Well, the robots, they are good at certain things, very good at certain things. We can use them to replace certain things, but they don't always get it right. They're not perfect, which is why maybe you don't put your faith in them to the point that you stand under them when they're flying. Emergency
Heart surgery for a boy after drones fell from the sky at Lake Eola on Saturday night. So this is a drone light show. Something went wrong in the drone light show, and they came down over people, and this boy did not. It fell on him, and it's very bad. It's a very sad story.
On one hand, I want to be like, why would you subject yourself to that? But then I guess like people like to go to shows that might have other dangers.
Some of the Chinese drone light shows are incredible.
How about an air show?
Yeah,
air shows go bad.
Yeah,
human pilots. One of the ways that you might have to worry about is not when the drones make mistakes, but when the public gets a hold of this.
British Army is trialing radio waves to zap drones out of the sky at 13 cents per shot. Yes, the Level 1 predicts microwave laser is here.
Well, it's not a laser, though. This is radio frequency.
Well,
the laser, they say the laser is too specific. When you're dealing with a drone swarm, you need something more of a shotgun approach.
Well,
so that's what this is going to be.
This don't stand in front of them. You know the story about the person standing in front of the dish and it melting the candy bar in their pocket? Yeah, it's going to be like that.
And here's a terrifying statistic, as we have just had some terrible accidents. And air travel, they always say air travel is safer than driving, right?
Yeah.
Statistically, that is true. But here's a crazy other statistic that's true now.
Wall Street Journal's headline is "Missiles are now the biggest killer of airline passengers." Where air defense systems accidentally or on purpose target passenger aircraft and they are damaged. This is, of course, talking about the case of the jetliner that was hit by an anti-aircraft battery, apparently, and while it was flying over Russia, and they flew back to somewhere. They flew across the sea and landed, and it's like, wait, well, they crash landed. A lot of people died, but there's a lot of shrapnel damage from the plane, and it's like this was a missile that exploded near the plane.
And also training incidents.
Yeah.
A lot of deaths from air travel are now people training to fly fighter planes and stuff.
I can't remember what I was watching, but I was watching a show, and they were interviewing somebody on a Navy ship, and like one of the Navy guns immediately like came to life and moved suddenly and erratically. And then you could see an airplane, like a commercial airplane, and the Navy person sensing alarm, and the interviewer, and it was like, oh yeah, it always tracks all the flights, but don't worry, it's disarmed. And it's like the fact that it's just doing that is still
those Vulcan cannons. Yeah, those things are terrifying.
Yeah,
they can put out a lot of lead. And this, I've not experienced it in flying, but I have experienced it in some other public places where I was shocked how many people were doing this. Why all of a sudden do people think this is okay?
Flying was already the worst, and then Americans stopped using headphones. Yeah, that's not okay.
But people will have conversations on speaker mode in public.
Yeah.
If I'm on the other end of that conversation, you know how much of a betrayal that is? And we're in the nonsense section now. If you lost some Christmas gifts that didn't arrive on time in the Massachusetts area, it could be because of this person who just simply had enough of being an Amazon driver.
Stressed Amazon driver abandons 80 packages in the Massachusetts woods during a holiday rush shipping. They're just, I can't get it done. I can't get it done. I'm just gonna put these in the forest.
Luckily, it was a deputy who found those and kind of understood what happened there. Took them back to Amazon. Also, they're not pressing any criminal charges for theft or anything. They say this is an internal Amazon HR issue.
No, that's the good on them. Because he didn't intend to steal, but
it was a dick move.
Yeah, but also the amount of stress that Amazon puts on you for that to happen. Again, you got to have some human compassion.
Well, not just human compassion. You got to have compassion for your pets. We all love our pets, but unfortunately, because of the nature of their timelines, we will lose them tragically. Maybe you can put that off now a little bit more.
Scientists explore longevity drugs for dogs that could also extend human life. Basically, let's get your dog where it can live a happy, rich, full life for 100 years.
They're also marketing this as like, listen, let us test this on your dog, and maybe we'll get you this eventually. But there are also some scientists that The Guardian got quotes from who were like, that's insane. We can't do a long enough study for this to make sure that it's safe. So, no, we shouldn't do this.
This is going to be another horse dewormer story in a couple of years, isn't it?
Well, here's a story of a man who has reached the end of his life or close to it. And he says he now has dementia and he can't remember anything and he can't be held responsible for anything he did prior. I think that might be a little bit of a dodge.
Former Abercrombie and Fitch CEO who is charged with sex trafficking has dementia, his lawyers say. It's like, just don't bother me. It's fine. I'm retired. Don't worry about it.
He's just an sweet old man. He can't be held responsible for international sex trafficking. And this is interesting. I thought Chris would have some interesting ideas about this because she, of course, big Lord of the Rings fan, and Amazon has basically destroyed that franchise. What other franchises might they be waiting to destroy?
James Bond battles a new foe, Amazon. So this is, what was this? I think I missed this one.
There is a family who owns James Bond, the IP, the Broccoli family. And there's one woman, she's 81 years old, and no one can make a movie about James Bond without her permission. And so Amazon now has the rights to for the next X number of years. They're trying to work with her, and she's like, no, every idea you have is bad. I hate you. She actually is quoted here saying, these people are effing idiots. So they're dying to make James Bond content, and she won't let them.
Excellent. You know what's out of copyright? Sherlock Holmes. Just pick up Sherlock Holmes and run with it.
He wasn't as sexy.
Nah.
And I love these stories because here's the thing about these stories. If you follow them, these people, when given reality, kind of accept it and then just don't. Again, that's like, you know what? I like my fantasy even better. I'm going back to that no matter how bad it hurts me.
Woman who warned social media not to fall for Keanu Reeves' romance scam becomes homeless after falling for Keanu Reeves' romance scam.
So she got messaged and someone said, hey, I'm Keanu Reeves. I need a $500 gift card. And she says, I don't believe you. Why would Keanu Reeves need a $500 gift card? So then she got contacted by somebody else who was like, hey, I'm the real Keanu Reeves. I'm sorry that happened to you. They developed a relationship. And then Keanu Reeves said, you know what? I'd like to get together with you, but I'm afraid you're just after my money. I'm going to need a gift card from you.
It's a damn Loch Ness monster.
And she did it.
I'm going to need about $350.
And now she is homeless, living in a car.
It's literally the South Park scam.
And here's a fun video. If you haven't seen it yet, a little piece of Russian propaganda, which is pretty heavy-handed.
NATO Santa, quote unquote, shot down over Moscow in apparent Russian propaganda video. So apparently their Santa is blue.
I don't know why their Santa is blue. It's an interesting, different look for Santa. But yeah, Blue Santa here was working with some surface-to-air installations over there in Russia. They detected NATO Santa, and they dealt with him.
Is this? I'm not even sure if this is a threat. It's just, I don't know.
Well, a lot of people pointed out it came after the plane just went down from the missile. So maybe in poor taste. Now, do you remember how amazing it was when Mario came to 3D?
Yeah.
Mario 64, it was a totally different game.
Yeah.
No one was ready for it.
I was bad at it too.
Well, apparently you're not alone.
Yeah. Miyamoto's son was so bad at Super Mario 64, he questioned his parenting. Well, listen, I had an existential crisis because I was so bad at it. Because I was really good at Super Mario Brothers 3, but I was terrible at Super Mario 64. So definite existential crisis trigger.
He notes that he was watching his son play it because, he was looking for play testing, right? Let's see what the kids think of this. And his son, there was a hill that you couldn't run up. I remember that game because if you tried to run up too steep a hill, Mario would fall on his stomach and slide back down. And he's like, he was just watching this 12-year-old kid do that over and over and over. And he's like, is my son an idiot?
Yeah. Most kids are. But you have to learn exactly how much of an idiot you are so that you can work around your own limitations.
And you have to be careful about making lifelong commitments when you're young and stupid.
Man with skull tattoo on face laments not being able to find a job. There are some public charities that will help you remove your face tattoos in certain scenarios.
Which this guy's doing, but it turns out his are in such sensitive areas. Like apparently you can't just blast your tear ducts with lasers. So he also, it was so painful because it was such sensitive parts of his bodies. It caused heart problems from the pain.
Interesting.
I would argue that removing those is maybe removing an important warning. You know how some snakes are brightly colored? This fella knows about snakes and he knows about freedom. But it turns out We all thought that he was with us, and he wasn't until now.
Bald eagle officially declared U.S. national bird after 250 years. Neat.
Joe Biden finally putting that in there. I didn't see, did we already have an existing bird? Was somebody pushed out?
I don't know. There was a directory of state birds, and I was surprised at some of the birds in some of the states, but I'd have to sit here and think to remember the details.
Well, some people are treating birds in the wrong way, and you should avoid this. Perhaps this was karma. I don't know.
Baby bird found alive inside of a dead man's stomach after being swallowed during a fertility ritual. The villagers claimed the victim had sought the assistance of the occultist for help with fertility issues.
Latin Times really blowing the headline on this. It wasn't the stomach. The bird was lodged in his throat.
Yeah.
That's what killed him. Don't eat birds to cure your dysfunctions. And we have a sweeping new trend among animals, which is Hi-vis clothing.
Chicken gets their own Hi-vis jacket to help cross the road.
So this is a restaurant that has chickens. I don't know if they eat them, but this chicken apparently loves following people who are leaving the restaurant and just like tagging along with them for long distances.
So like cats at the local KFC.
Yeah. And they were worried about it. So here's the solution.
A lot of these chickens are smarter than people realize. They are trainable, some of them. Some of them are dumb as a post, but some of them are smart.
Do any of them get face tattoos?
No.
And here's a something that if you grew up when we did, this was a big movie, such a big hit. And they didn't really ever repeat this kind of movie. But one of the actors turns out lived to be a very old man.
Burt, the beloved crocodile from Crocodile Dundee, dies at over 90 years old. It's often described as a puppy with very sharp teeth.
He moved to a shelter or like a preserve after his acting career was over. And they had some quotes from them there, and they were like, yeah, Burt could be difficult. But that's why we loved him. So I get the impression that here's a picture of him.
He looks like he's lost most of his teeth.
Yeah, teeth are missing, huh? Think he just gummed his food?
Probably.
Can't they regrow teeth? That's sharks, I guess. Now, I think this is a different one. I remember the one we looked at before was like the green day glow, right?
Yeah.
This is orange. So this is a trend that's happening. And why, we don't know.
Is this deer playing a trick on Michigan hunters? Now, what's happening is the deer get into the bird feeder and gets kind of domesticated. And then some family that borders the wildlife preserve or the forest or whatever is like, let's put a vest on it to help protect it.
Looks good in the vest. It fits well.
Maybe people won't shoot it if it's wearing a vest.
I guess those are made for dogs.
Maybe.
How do you think the other deer feel about that? Are they jealous? Or
it's almost like, is this deer marked to not be shot? Because it's more visible to bears, which might be a problem.
Now, I noticed you're drinking water today.
Yeah.
And earlier you had what looked like a soft drink.
No, that was tea.
Oh, it was tea?
Yeah.
So you are not concerned about this.
I actually, so it's so funny that because I don't use the little baggies that are plastic.
Well, let's do the headline.
Commercial tea bags release millions of microplastics entering human intestinal cells. So I knew it. Loose leaf tea. I love Taiwanese loose leaf tea. Been drinking, going hard on the loose leaf tea. I think there's a lot of microplastics in like the Keurig K-cups as well.
Oh, for sure.
But this, like some of the tea that you get is little plastic bags. Like that's what you use for steeping. And I think that's a terrible idea for a couple of reasons. One, it's the tiny little mesh. Like how are you ever going to wash that so that it's clean for how that's made? And two, you actually get a little bit of taste from the paper, like the paper that they normally use with tea bags. You can taste the difference between the plastic and the tea and like the paper. And you should use the paper. Like the paper is better. But sometimes people want to use like cheap paper, or you get like cheap tea. And, that's the thing. Like some of the packaged Liptons use the plastic thing. We should not use plastic for that. That's a crazy idea. Paper is so much better.
But they got the metal balls too.
Yeah.
Like you could just cut that thing open.
Yeah.
Pour it. You'd still probably get some microplastics.
Yeah. I don't like hot water plus this kind of plastic will release. Because the plastic is a little tacky, as it turns out. It's a little, and so like when you heat it, it's gonna. Yeah, this makes perfect sense.
microplastics and nanoplastics, and they put some chemical markers on these and tracked them after people drank the tea, and they found it not only inside the cells but inside the nucleus of the cells.
Yeah. It's no wonder everybody's getting cancer. Probably.
And finally, here's a man who really knew how to celebrate Christmas.
Man arrested for disrupting Christmas church services, pouring whiskey into holy water, deputies say. He thought he was doing something really funny.
So he went to, I didn't understand this part. He went to one church and threw an onion on the ground, which they said disrupted services. I don't really understand why that would disrupt the services.
I think Krista would probably know better, but I think that is a reference to Christ wearing onions on his belt as a form of like, we're going to, roll up our sleeves and get everything done.
Well, after that, he threw some tomatoes, which he had on his person, and a lot of vegetables. Then, as he was thrown out of that church, he attended another church. And that's where he poured the whiskey into the holy water and accosted people with his whiskey bottle.
The alcohol is involved, footnote, in the police report. Not surprising.
Yeah. But you got to wonder, like, alcohol lowers your inhibitions. He already had this feeling that he needed to do this.
I think that he probably had some other issue, and this is how the issue manifests. It's like there was definitely something unrequited there. It's like, I need to make sure that these people know how upset that I am, that we're going to, like, everybody needs to put an onion on their belt so that we can get this thing done.
Interestingly, the charges this guy was charged with, a lot of religious has a lot of carve-outs for specific laws. Defacing religious property, religious crime against a group, obstructing religious exercise, and disorderly conduct. So
seems a little excessive. I mean, I'm surprised they didn't charge him as a terrorist.
I mean, it was a dick move.
Yeah.
Should we tolerate that kind of behavior in our society?
Should we tolerate that kind of overcharging in our?
Yeah. If you stack it up against everything else we've talked about this week,
Yeah.
maybe not that big a deal.
Yeah, it was like causing a public disturbance. That's reasonable.
Well,
Happy New Year. That's been another week. Look for the live stream if you missed it.
which might have already happened.
Yeah, it might have already happened. But that doesn't matter. You can still rewatch it and engage. Thanks for hanging out.
Let's do it all again in a couple of days.
Yeah, Krista should be back next week, probably, hopefully. Woo! As she would say. All right. See you later. Bye.